I have a friend who came to you speak a few years back and had a chance to talk to you for a few minutes. I was asking you about something and was looking for your insight, maybe your advice on something. And your response to him was love your spouse really well. And at the moment, he felt like he had asked you about something over here, and you had talked to him about something over here. And he told me it was like 18 months later that the two connected very, very powerfully for him. What do you mean when you say love your spouse really well? And what does that look like?
Picking who you marry is they're I guess they're the two most important decisions every single person has to make. Is am I going to say yes to God? Am I going to say yes to Jesus Christ and His church in my life? And then, assuming that you're not called to a religious life or a single life, who am I going to marry? There is no other decision in your life anywhere near those two in terms of gravity and importance. Because when you choose who you marry, forever's a long time. We talked about this earlier. Forever's a long time. And when I do marriage events, marriage is really powerful for two reasons. One is because it's deeply intimate. You're together at all kinds of moments of your life. I mean, you see each other at your best, at your worst. When you're showering, when you're taking a nap, when you're cutting the grass. I mean, it's just it's intimate. You learn things about each other. When you like to clip your fingernails and how often you like to wash your hair. I mean, you learn intimate stuff. But it's also every day. I mean, I had an intimate relationship with my mom and my dad, but it wasn't every day. Marriage is every day, every single day for the rest of your life. That's the most important human relationship you're going to have. And this is the one person that you have committed to love, and they've committed to love you. All other relationships have some negotiation about them, but once you make that decision on the marriage, and so if this is the most important relationship, and this is the person that's going to be alongside you, invest in that. If you can only invest in one relationship, invest in that one relationship, because that decision in that relationship is going to impact every single other aspect of your life, including every other relationship that you have. Even with people who don't know your spouse, it's going to impact them. If you're coming in emotionally wounded, emotionally exhausted, what have you, it impacts all those other relationships. And so I say invest in your relationship. I mean, it's easy to get distracted by your kids, by your bills, by your career, all of which are good things. But if you're not careful, you wake up 20 years down the road, and you and I are seeing this a lot in a lot of conversations we have with folks, and you look over at your spouse and you go, "Now, who are you again?" Because you don't realize that for a long time you were just slowly being invested in other stuff until all of a sudden you cross the point of no return. It's like, what do we got here now? Because we haven't invested along the way. So if you can only invest in one relationship, because it's every day, and it's going to influence every other aspect of your life, and it's going to deeply influence whether you're happy, joyful, and peaceful. So to me, it's self-evident, but our culture has become so confused about marriage in general and what it's supposed to be about. It's just about me being happy, and there's a lot more going on in a marriage than just two people trying to make each other happy.
What about when it comes to raising kids? I've heard you say raise your kids knowing who they are. What do you mean by that?
Well, you go back to what my grandfather said, always remember who you are. And you go back to what we talked about earlier with my grandkids and this toxic culture that we're throwing our kids into the deep end of. Faith is caught more than taught. And the greatest predictor for your kid's spiritual life is your spiritual life as a parent. And in Alan Hunt's opinion, the greatest responsibility you have as a parent is to help your kid have that faith life, to remember who they are. You are made in the image of God, sweetheart. You belong to Him. You're the child of a great King. He has great things in store for you. He desires you to be the best version of yourself. He has big hopes He wants what's best for you. He loves you unconditionally, to help them understand at the core who they are. Because then all this other stuff, you can't get rid of it. You can't erase all these other things, but you can prepare them. You know, the saying that we always like to use with each other: prepare your child for the road. Don't try to prepare the road for your child. And so helping them know who they are, made in that image of God, that they're a child of God, it's a game changer. And the greatest likelihood of your kid getting that, it's not going to come from sending them to Catholic school. It's not going to come from their best friend. It's not going to come from their aunt and their uncle. It's going to come from mom and dad. All those other ones have help, influence, they matter. But the greatest likelihood is from mom and dad.
Mm.
Job one. Starting to preach now, man. Getting me warmed up.
That's good.
Coming out of the bullpen.